Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, welcome back. Today I want to take a look into 600 RPM auto rifles. We saw it coming, we talked about it, we were excited for it, some of us were dreading it, and we saw on paper that these 600s could become meta, they could become strong. Well, the update is here, the prophecy is true. Auto rifles have proven themselves to be formidable, especially the 600s, and I want to give it an updated, in-depth review for Suros and Hard Light. Now Suros is going to be talked about a little bit more, that way we know how it works. Hard Light is fairly simple. I want to discuss their place at the sandbox, what it means to the sandbox with these 600s in general, and we can see if we can find a clear winner, see if it's close, and I think that the answer is going to depend on how you play. With the updated damage numbers, Suros does some weird things that you need to be aware of. It's something that you need to know, that way you can use it to its fullest potential. I also have a tip on how I shoot Suros with a controller, which is kind of funny because my YouTube career started with the Suros regime trick in Destiny 1 about 5 years ago. I want to start with Suros, but first things first. This season and beyond, even with the stats that some of them have put on mods. This season, we have the artifact mods for auto rifles. They're at a reduced cost. For the helmet, it's 3 energy, enhanced scatter projectile targeting, greatly improved target acquisition, accuracy, and aim down sight speed. Even though some of them have 100 aim assist, at that point the gains are going to be kind of small on that front, but everything else is huge. Faster aim down sights, better accuracy. They will perform better with this on. For the gauntlets, enhanced auto rifle reloader. It costs only 1 energy, greatly increases your reload speed. On the chest, enhanced auto rifle and flinching, greatly reducing flinch from incoming fire when aimed down sights. Again, it costs just 1 energy. I highly recommend you put these on when you go into the crucible, especially when you go into trials. They're massive buffs to the weapons. All of them are the enhanced version, and it's a total of 5 energy only. Just do it, set yourself up for success. There's no reason not to have on these mods. Back to Suros, I'm focusing on the 600 RPM version. This is the spinning up version for its stats with perks like Hammer Forge, Tac Mag, Hand Laid Stock added. It's got a range of 60, stability of 62, handling of 68, reload of 76, an aim assist of 68, and a recoil direction stat of 100. Very strong stats. The exotic perk states the bottom half of each magazine deals bonus damage and has a chance to return health on a kill. The exotic catalyst states increased chance for kills to regen health. It's very important when using Suros regime to know how it's working, that way you can get its full benefit. Because if you don't use it a certain way, you're losing out. And with what I'm about to go over, it works like it does, so it isn't completely overpowered. Because these 600s got a TTK buff, they now do 26 to the head, it's a 0.7 TTK, 7 headshots, 1 body. Suros hits for 24 to the head. It starts there because it's compensating for spinning up and glass half full, it actually works out. You have to use these 2 perks together, glass half full and spinning up. If you don't, you put yourself at a disadvantage, and I'm going to walk through it. Suros has 36 total bullets in the magazine. The first half deals 24 damage per crit. Once you get to 18, the bottom half, it starts dealing 26 to the critical. Now we're on par, we're on the same level as the other 600s. Because glass half full puts a little modifier on the bullet for damage as you get lower. The first half of the magazine deals 24 to the head up to about 28 meters, right at 28 meters. The moment glass half full kicks in, there's a precision penalty, there's a range reduction. When it starts doing 26 to the head in the bottom half, it now hits that maximum 26 crit that you're getting at 25 meters. Then you start seeing fall off. With that glass half full modifier though, with about 12 bullets left, then 7, then the final 3 as you go down the magazine, and it happens really quick because you're spinning up, it puts enough damage on the bullet to get it back to about 28 meters. That's the first thing to know. So if you're in a gunfight and you stop shooting, you have about 24 rounds in the magazine or whatever number, yeah, it's going to get to glass quicker, but it's going to pull your effective range in and you're not going to be fully spinning up Suros regime. You want to start each gunfight with a full mag, and that brings us to spinning up. With spinning up, holding down the trigger, holding down the fire button, amps up those RPM. So the first 12 bullets fire at 600 RPM, the next 12 fire at 720 RPM, and then the final 12 fire at 900 RPM. 12, 24, and 36. The first 12 at 600 RPM is a 0.7 TTK with all headshots. Keep in mind you're holding down the trigger for all of this, so at 24 bullets, you're starting to fire at 720 RPM. 6 of those bullets are going to do 24 damage. When glass half full hits at 18, you're going to now do 26 to the head. At 720 RPMs, it's a 7 crit, 1 body TTK. This part of the magazine has a TTK of 0.58 seconds. Now, if you go all body shots, not 1 crit landed, it's a 0.9 TTK. If a hand cannon user just misses 1 headshot, you can just shoot all body shots with Suros at mid-range using spinning up and it's going to mow them down. Because their 0.8 TTK turns into a 1.2 second TTK the moment they shoot that 4th shot. And then we get down to the final 12 bullets. This is pure deletion territory. Again, it's 7 crit, 1 body. The final 12 shoot at 900 RPM, so glass half full has put enough on the bullet that you're getting back to that 28 meters. It has a ridiculous 0.46 TTK, and if that sounds familiar, that's the Master of Arms Recluse TTK. And this TTK does happen. You can achieve that, I've done it. And even better, in that final 12 900 RPM spinning up, glass half full, you're right at the end. If you land body shots only, you need 12 of them, the TTK is 0.73 seconds. Just simply hitting body shots, and that's pretty much the same as its regular 600 RPM TTK of 0.7. For Suros regime, I recommend that you use spinning up as much as you can, whenever you can. If you get a kill, always reload for your next target. If you don't, you're gonna have the issue of being in the middle of the magazine, not getting spinning up to fully ramp up to 900 RPM. It might hit 720 depending on how close you are, and that's not working well with glass half full at that point. Because if you start and shoot, even though you're at different points in the magazine, you have to be consistently firing to get the RPMs up. So if you start at that middle of the magazine, 18, to make it do 26 like it should, it actually pulls your range in to 25 meters, and you're only gonna get up to 720 RPM. You don't have the bullets in the magazine, meaning you're not gonna have enough time to spin up to go through the RPMs, and that's what makes it special. So even though once you get glass half full, it brings it in, it's amping up so fast, it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you try to use Suros regime in the middle of the magazine. And again, it starts out at 24, because if it did start with 26, like the other 600 RPMs, glass half full would be 28 or 29, and then you would have that hitting players at 720 and 900 RPMs. It would get way out of hand. When using Suros, as soon as you see an enemy and start aiming down sights, even just a little bit before, start spinning it up, start shooting a couple shots. That way, you might get out 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets, and then you're working right into that 720 RPM glass half full. And after you down an opponent, if there's any thought in your mind that there's a second target, keep firing and look for them. Because that's the super fast TTK, that's the 0.56s, the 0.46s, and so on and so forth. Only stop when there's nothing there. And when you're in a gunfight and cover is involved, keep firing at the cover, because that's going to pin them down. If they pop out, they're walking into that potential 0.46. Again, instant deletion. If they're smart, they stay in their cover. After you're done pre-firing and firing, that's when you get into cover real quick, grab a reload, and then go from there. And also with spinning up, it's a monster versus supers. Not many weapons can do it like Suros regime. You can just hold your ground, let it rip, get your shot as best as you can with a roaming super coming right at you. It's very good. As for a controller, here's something that I do. I want to stress that if this doesn't work for you, then don't do it. It works for me. It might not work for you. Even though it does have 100 recoil direction, there's still recoil patterns from automatic weapons, and a recoil pattern is different than a recoil direction. I noticed a while ago when you get spinning up, the pattern kind of pushes the bullets a little bit to the left. It does that most of the time. So when I'm aiming Suros, when I'm aiming at my target, on my screen, I'm just a little bit right of their midline, and anatomically, that's going to be the left side of their body towards their left shoulder. On my screen, I'm aiming just a little bit to the right. Because with spinning up, I'm pretty much aiming at their left ear pod. Aim assist pulls that in, the recoil pattern pulls that in, and everything about aiming in a video game tells you that you want to be dead center right on the nose, or in the upper neck area. But with Suros, with how much aim assist that it has, its recoil pattern, it's all of its stats, I noticed that aiming just a little bit right of the midline lands consistent criticals. Spinning up pulls that pattern to the left a bit. Just try it for a game or two. If you aren't feeling it, don't do it. Suros is very strong, a lot stronger than what players are realizing. Main thing to take away, always have a full magazine, and pretty much always spend it until there's no threats in the area, because at the end of that magazine, glass half spinning up, that's when it's the most lethal. Very good at that point. A lot of players aren't really paying attention to Suros, and that has a lot to do with hard light. A lot of people are using hard light, and that's for a good reason. With hard light, it was the most used weapon in the first weekend of trials. It has qualities that can't really be looked over. Stat-wise, with perks added, it has a range of 46, stability of 100 with the catalyst, handling of 79, a reload of 68, an aim assist of 100, a recoil direction of 100. It's a stat monster. There's literally nothing not to like about hard light. Holding reload cycles through damage types, arc, solar, void is exotic perk. Rounds fired from this weapon have no damage fall off. They overpenetrate targets, and they ricochet off hard surfaces. Double damage when the projectiles are bounced. With the quality of life buff, taking away the screen shake, and the buff to 600s that we got, it's easy to see why it's being used. The first thing to talk about, it has 49 rounds in the magazine. Everything about 49 rounds makes it top tier with all the perks that it has. Being able to bounce the shots, being very stable, having a very far range. And just like Suros, there comes to a point where you start losing accuracy. On console with mouse and keyboard, it changes a little bit. This has to do with the stability that you can get from mouse and keyboard, but hard light on all platforms feels good at right at about 30, 31 meters, 32. On console, once you get to about 35 meters, you start feeling average effects of accuracy issues, and 40 meters and longer, you start feeling more severe accuracy penalties. With mouse and keyboard, it feels good and accurate to about 35 meters, and once you start getting to 40 and above that, you start feeling those accuracy penalties. So you can still land shots, but when firing, the cone's getting bigger, causing the inaccuracy. You can and will land shots, but you should not rely on it. It's going to be RNG at that point. So when people say hard light has that unlimited range, yeah, in theory, but not in game, not in practice. You aren't hitting that 0.7 fast and crisp TTK past 35 meters. You're going to do it every now and again. The stars have to align, but with the bloom and accuracy penalties, it just doesn't work. That doesn't mean you can't get off 4 or 5 really good rounds on someone, but actually achieving the 0.7, very difficult. Versus pulses and scouts, pulses and scouts will feel fine dueling you at 35 or 40 meters because their weapon's designed for that range. I've gone against them, I've felt it, played against it. They still have the advantage. And I get into these weird 35, 40 meter duels with hard light like you're seeing right now. We're both using it and we can't hit anything. So yeah, even though it has unlimited range, it has constraints. Past its effective range, if you do want to take shots, you need to tap fire it or do very small bursts. Don't hold down the trigger. And if they're close to cover, I would actually go for ricochets. That's what I would be doing, not trying to land headshots at that distance. Hard light's very to the point, it's cut and dry, it's strong. The range isn't unlimited, there are constraints. As far as which one is better, I honestly believe that we have a Destiny 1 Last Word versus Thorn situation on our hands. I don't really think that you can call one better, because it's going to depend on how you play. Both are very good. If you were to give good points on why Hard Light is going to be better than Suros, I probably couldn't debate you on it, and vice versa. If you were to give me good Suros points versus Hard Light, I'd probably agree with you. I personally do believe that Suros is the better option within the effective range, within that 28 meter, 29 meter, even up to 30, and at 32, 33, you're going to start seeing some accuracy issues, but it's still doing 22 or so to the head. Put it this way, if it was tied 4-4, we're on game 7, there's a 1v1, it's the final match to go flawless. One player is given a hard light, one player is given a Suros. I would choose the Suros and make them use hard light. With map navigation, map knowledge, you can pull people into range. You can provoke those engagements. You can start shooting, get spinning up going, and that's where you want to be. That's where that 0.4 to 0.6 TTK is, right there in that sweet spot. You can even hit body shots and be okay. Now with hard light, with map design, think Anomaly, Wormhaven, Javelin. Not only can you feel comfortable at almost any engagement range on those maps, but they also have tighter quarters. Bounce shots happen a lot more. And remember, the rounds do over-penetrate targets. And for me, if the opportunity is there, I go for bounce shots. But it's a rare thing. The situation has to come up, I don't actually look for them. In hard light, I think it's more of an easygoing, careless type deal because you can get into duels and feel good about it, even if you're way outside of its effective range, because 2 or 3 might land, and that might be 60, 80 damage. Whereas with Suros or other 600s, that's not gonna happen. So in that sense, hard light does win. Like I said, if you take some shots and even land just some damage, those bullets are gonna hit for max damage. I think it is going to be up to the player. I don't think one's going to be better overall though, because both have strengths, both have weaknesses. It's going to depend on how you play them. And when I say that they both have strengths, like I emphasize that, they both have really good strengths. It's just going to depend on how you want to play. I will say though, I'm going to go on record, I do believe that the ARs, most legendary 600s as well, with ineffective range, perform better with controller than mouse and keyboard, and that's going to have to do with the aim assist on controller. That doesn't mean that M&K is bad though, not at all. Just with all the info that we have, how these stats work, and how high these stats are on these exotics, it makes sense. It feels that way too. With the stability that you do have on mouse and keyboard, you're gonna get like 3 or 4 meters on a controller player though, that's for sure. Doesn't matter if you're using Suros or hard light. Another dark horse pick is actually going to be Monte Carlo. I don't see enough people talking about it in the Markov chain. Up damage from the 600s, Monte Carlo also has high cals, so when you get a kill, you get more damage for your next opponent, you're flinching them. It works like Swashbuckler at a ×5. You get that after a melee, you deal 34 to the head, and you're reducing your melee, and you have a chance to fully get that melee back when you get a kill. There's others like Arc Logic. The one that I have is Overflow Rampage, 80 plus rounds with Rampage. We have the Ether Doctor for Kinetic. The new Trial 600 will probably be one of the best ones in class. So this kind of brings us to this rise, this very obvious meta shift, and this is what it looks like. Is it a problem? Should it be nerfed? Should Suros get a separate nerf? Should Hard Light get a separate nerf? Should we just revert the changes? I think no, and hear me out. I don't think that they're an issue. When there's something as obvious as these 600s in the Crucible right now, easiest thing to do is notice them. And when people are noticing them, depending on your mindset, it could mean a couple things. For me, I don't think that they're an issue. It's a new way to play for sure, but it's not the only way to play. I played at 970 power-ish or light in trials. I was underleveled. I played against a 600 pretty much every match. I've outdueled them. You've outdueled them. I finally got a Dire Promise. I took it into a game of quick play. First game I had with it, I put up over 40 kills, played against numerous 600 ARs on the other team. Now when you had something like a 2-tap Thorn, a 2-tap Last Word, a 1-tap Hawkmoon, a Master of Arms Recluse for that .46 body TTK, there comes to a point where you can't really do anything about it, but with these, you can do something about it. I see top players streaming doing fine running cards with Thorn and a shotgun. I've seen Pulses do well. This is because the auto rifle is still an auto rifle. It needs consistent fire, they need to see you the entire duration of their TTK, and they're holding down the trigger and tracking. The best scenario for these ARs for you is to run around a corner and see someone at the same exact time. Both of you are now out in the open, you have to duel. The ARs are really good in that situation now, but even then they can still be outshot. I do like the 600 buff, and playing against them now, I look at them as a threat, you should too. Hand cannons and other weapons can still peak shot. I look at this AR buff as an opportunity for other weapons to get some love. 450 pulses need love, 140 and 110 hand cannons need love. You can make 140s do 2 crit 1 body. There can be quality of life changes, not necessarily full TTK changes. And another big thing is it's so fresh, it's new, you're experiencing change, and it's different than what we've been used to. If I had Ace of Spades or Spare and pre-patch went up against a Hardlight or Suros, I would take them out easily, like no problem. But now, I can and do win those duels, but they can get me now too. So when they get me, the first thing in my head isn't, oh, they need to nerf that because that's stronger now and it's different than what I was used to 2 weeks ago. I just look at them as a threat. They're actually a contender. But they're not so much that it forces me to run one. I haven't come across that feeling at all yet. I've done well with hand cannons, I've done well with pulses and scouts. The TTK is a 7 crit 1 body, that can be achieved. But if 1 bullet goes to the body, that's a 9 bullet kill. That's a 0.8 TTK, and that lines up with everything pretty much in the game. A lot of the time you aren't landing that 7 and 1. If it takes 10 bullets, it's a 0.9 TTK. And then so on, it gets longer and longer. The 600's got an ease of use factor along with the TTK buff. If you're still 3-tapping with a hand cannon, you're gonna get them more often than not, I've found. Flinch is a whole different story. We've talked about it before, we'll probably talk about it again one day, but I do believe that the 600s are here to stay. I don't think it's gonna be like a meme, like a one-time deal. The 2 exotics talked about today each have a quality about them that makes them elite, but it's gonna be up to the player on how they wanna use them, what fits their playstyle. I do believe that Suros has an edge at being more aggressive. Spinning Up has lethal TTKs within range, and you get a chance to get your health back, while Hardlight has the edge of having the ability to be alright in most all engagements distances that you get in, and you can lane better than a Suros. And this 600 buff does open up potential other buffs to weapons, and I'm not talking about pure TTK changes, that's going to be up to Bungie. I'm not looking for Call of Duty times here, but I would like to see quality of life damage profile changes like we talked about with the 140s and the 450 pulses. And there's so many more, the 180 scouts, I could go on. And let's remember, Ice Luna was a 1 headshot 2 body in Destiny 1. It's the same 0.8, 0.87 TTK as D2. But here we are now. Don't feel forced to use a 600. You can do well with other weapons, however, they have already solidified themselves as a force. They're strong. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to get videos right when I post them. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. What do you think about the new sandbox, these 600 RPM auto rifles, or auto rifles in general? And it's okay to have a favorite. Are you liking Suros or Hardlight more? Let's talk about it down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.